Hello, welcome to the Red Room and another episode of Let's Pimp Our Books. So today we are going to talk about Red's New Flash and
And
Over the Edge.
something that is kind of similar, but not exactly the same thing, obviously.
Let me say just this. So if you like Over the Edge, why not try Red's New Flash?
Yeah, well, let's start by saying that I didn't really ever game master this. I didn't even play it because when the first edition was available, I think it was this is the second
This
edition.
is the second edition, yes.
When first edition was available, I found the concept interesting. I gave it a look, but the people with whom I was playing at the time weren't really interested in trying new things, so I just forgot about it. And
it's always the group's fault.
Yes, well, at the time there was it was a small group, and we were playing. I don't know what we were playing at the time, so we were playing something, and this was just an idea. And eventually, I used the concept because what I found interesting about it was that it was inspired by William Burroughs, Naked Lunch, etc. The fact that it was a surreal setting, but I never actually read it as a setting. I just gave it a look. So it's not exactly the same thing, but the concept is similar. So that's why we are recommending it. It doesn't take place in an island in the Mediterranean, but there are some similar things because, so for example, this island in the Mediterranean has a Arabic sounding name, like it's a Al Maraja. I think it's how it's pronounced or something like that. And why? Because Naked Lunch has those references to Morocco, but I decided to place this game or this setting really in the same place where William Burroughs was when he lived in Morocco, which was Tangier or Interzone at the time.
Stupid question. It really was an Interzone at the time, right?
It was called Interzone, yes.
But
international zone.
Exactly, but the international zone ended. So in New Flash,
and I think in the 60s or late 50s, I'm not sure, but it was there before. So when William Burroughs was living in Tangier, the place, I don't think it was the whole city, but there was a part that was called International Zone, which was bureaucratically divided between a whole bunch of countries. Portugal was one of them, France, Spain, I don't know what else, but several countries. So it was that's where he wrote Make It Lunch and probably something else. So that's the concept. And
in our game, that didn't. That the international zone continued to exist.
Yeah.
It later became Avalidad.
Yeah, changed name. Okay, so we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but let's finish mentioning the comparison. So I never played this one, but I bought it because actually I didn't buy this. I tried to buy the first edition from the publishers. They had it in their site, but they sent me second edition. I don't know, maybe it was a mistake. I don't know which part was a mistake. Maybe they don't have first edition anymore, and this was what they had. I emailed them, but they never sent me the first one, so I suppose they probably don't have it anymore. So, this one, though it's a nice looking book, even inside the layout is colorful and kind of stylish, but there's a bookmarker, a ribbon bookmarker. But I heard bad things about it, and it's also a story game. I know the first one was a story game as well, but this one looks like it doesn't have much content. As you can see by the pages, this is lots of colors and illustrations, but not much text. This for large pages, but they don't have much information here. So
and some people say that second edition is not that.
Well, it's certainly watered down as usual. how these things work. So the first edition was by Jonathan Tweet and Robin DeLoss. Second edition, I think this guy Chris Lights is the writer. Jonathan Tweet is mentioned here, but I don't think he has anything to do with this. He wrote the first one, and maybe he did some editing or whatever for this. Well, supposedly he wrote it, but I don't know.
Well,
Oh yeah, development Cam Banks. This guy is
Yeah.
woke as fuck. So we know how things went wrong. Okay, so this is probably woke as fuck.
Yeah, but another thing I'm going to say is that not why we also doing this video is because a lot of people say that New Flash remembers them of Over the Edge, and yes, it does.
Yeah,
But you did it on purpose. So while you're writing, because I remember Wretched New Flash, you made sure somebody said, "Oh, this looks like this sounds like Over the Edge." Okay, I'm not going to read Over the Edge.
Yeah,
because that way I cannot say I copied anything.
I knew it because as I
Yes,
said
but
before,
it was a
I
long
knew
time ago.
the concept, and when I wrote this, started writing this, I remembered Over the Edge, and I went to their site and I read their synopsis, and I said, okay, it's similar, not exactly the same thing, but let's develop the concept that way. And yes, and I didn't read it. I think I have the PDF for the first edition, and I didn't read it because of that. Though I gave it a look. Meanwhile, in the meantime, I gave it a look to check if the concept that what I had in mind, what in my memory, I mean, was right, and I think it was. There was a 90s vibe that probably not isn't
Well,
in
they
the
have the bubble there, and we have a
yeah,
bubble
there are
here,
baboons. Yes,
but that's normal.
that's a baboon down
You-
too. But
yes.
yeah, the baboon is has nothing to do with Over the Edge. It has
Has
a
to
lot
do
to
with
do
burrows.
with burrows and naked lunch. So yeah, baboons are no. Another thing that I know that is even though this new Flash is surreal and there's some strange concepts, Over the Edge is much more gonzo. Maybe I don't know if the word is correct. If exactly gonzo, but it's slightly gonzo at least. So I didn't go over the edge.
No. New Flash is
I
a lot
stayed
darker.
on the edge. Yeah, New Flash is much darker. So the idea of when doing New Flash was to create a game that is part horror, part cyberpunk, part well biopunk because
Yes.
there is some cyberpunk here because it sounds old and dated.
It's a
That's-
cyberpunk vibe, I was
yeah.
going to say. There's,
The
even if
neo-noir,
it's not cyber, the technology, it's neo-noir, exactly. It's that cyberpunk vibe.
So what can we say about this? So this is if you mix Naked Lunch and Blade Runner and Cronenberg movies, especially Existence and Naked Lunch,
And a
the
bit of
movie.
Mel Gibson, probably.
And yes, some William Gibson, not the technology, because the technology here is mostly biotech. So that's Cronenberg. From William Gibson, you take
The society,
the society,
the
yeah,
entertainment part,
Yeah.
all that too.
the corporations, the ambience as well, even though Blade Runner is closer because it's even more noir, even more like a noir movie. So you take each one of those bits and you add some Clive Barker to the mix because this is horror as well. And I think you get it. So horror, cyberpunk, biopunk, surreal. That's it.
So let's talk a bit about we can leave rules for the end. Let's talk a bit about the setting in New Flash, and because that's interesting and different, where the biotechnology comes from. That's a bit the twist that goes a bit into Clive
But
Barker and
it
our
can be revealed. It's not
yes,
really
yes.
secret. Even in the setting, it's not quite a secret. Some people know it. Okay, so let's
Well, for biotechnology, let's think Cronenberg and Existence,
Yeah.
for example.
yeah, it's probably there are other Cronenberg movies and other movies.
Yeah, but that one has the
Yeah,
neuropods.
but that's one. Yeah, there are something like the neuropods that are connected to the spine as well. But let's go back a little bit. So in this setting, Interzone, which is Tangier, never ceased to exist. Simply when it was supposed to be back into
Morocco.
the Moroccan government and to be a normal city, it was bought by a consortium of corporations from Japan because this is the cyberpunk part of it. There are Japanese there. I thought it would be adequate to have some
You cannot
some
have
touch of
cyberpunk
cyberpunk.
without
Yeah.
without the
So
Japanese scientists.
I had to put the Japanese corporate suits and the scientists in Morocco. That's how I did it. So those corporations, mainly Kobayashi Corporation, that's a nod to the usual suspects. The Kobayashi Corporation purchased, with the help of other corporations, purchased the city, and they developed their they razed to the ground a part of the city and built their labs and their headquarters.
And that's where they do all the experiments without remote control.
They started doing experiments in genetics and later biotechnology and virtual reality, augmented reality, and several other things. Well, drugs as well, obviously. Drugs must play a big part in this because they can watch and burn. So what happens next? Okay, next, Kobayashi has some unusual allies, which are creatures that are not human. Maybe they are supernatural, maybe they are aliens, maybe they are both.
They're from another world.
Yeah, they are from another world. So they have some interesting abilities. They can fold space and time, and they can move around from dimensions and time zones. So they collect technology.
And they're obsessed about technology.
So they have a partnership with the Kobayashi Corporation, especially the leader of it. And so they traded his technology for their technology. And then Kobayashi and later Takeda, which is another corporation, smaller one, which is taking care of business now in Avalida. Avalida is the rebranding of Intrusion. So they tried to adapt and to reverse engineer those futuristic products, and eventually they started commercializing them, especially in Avalida, but some of the things are already available in other parts of the world. So this is near future, of course. But in this case, even if you don't want to place it in the near future, if you want to place it in the right now, you can also use futuristic stuff because they are using reverse engineering stuff that is not from now, it's from the future or whatever, some place else. So it's even possible. You just have to explain that things are strange there, but they aren't still available anywhere else.
But most people don't know that the technology is coming from another world. They just think it's...
That's true. So since they are working basically without any kind of determined in Avalida, so the government wasn't checking on them, and they could do whatever they wanted, and they had willing and unwilling guinea pigs, not actual guinea pigs, but people. So they developed the development of technology here was faster than it should be, which means that in the correct time zone or timeline, I mean the correct timeline, which is 30 years in the future, things are much more advanced than they should be, and the world has changed thanks to what happened in Avalida. So that's it. The idea here, the concept is you start it when people start realizing what's happening, and there are two corporations having a war.
Takeda and
yeah,
Kobayashi.
Takeda and Kobayashi. So they are the most important corporations in Avalida. Kobayashi is still managing, or at least still the owner of Avalida, at least in name. Takeda is, as I said before, taking care of business, and they have some points of interest that
They
will make them
basically
collide.
take control
Yeah.
of the city and
Yeah.
not be dependent of
Exactly.
Kobayashi, the parent corporation.
There's no government there, but there's a kind of state police which is called ZoneSec, and this is by default where the players could be from or could be working for, even though you can do whatever you want. There's a whole city there, and not just one city. We will develop other cities. There are already 3 cities where in the same world, in the same game world. The first one was Lisbon, which is a different kind of town. There's no scientific progress there.
It's a gambling
Gambling city. So if you want something even more noir and with the old spy ambience, there's Lisbon. It's called All Bets Are Off. Then there's something a little bit as well as surreal as maybe as surreal as Avalidad, but in a different kind of environment. The second is called
Nova Nexus.
Yes, Nova Nexus. That one is inspired by several movies by Jack Tati. So it's just inspired and visually inspired by that.
That's retrofuturism.
Yeah, retrofuturism, technology going crazy. In this case, it's
and a little bit of Alphaville, maybe.
Yes,
that's a computer going crazy.
Yes, in this case, it's artificial intelligence going insane and causing creating havoc in the city. And more recently, Rim Jim wrote Penny Tower for us. That was inspired by J.G. Ballard. So you can see that if you are not aware of this game yet and of Wretched Verse, our inspirations are very unusual. Ballard, Burroughs, and Tati. It's not expected, but I think it worked. All of them work, even if you just have them as a visual thing, not really a story or setting inspiration, but visually it works.
For Penny Tower is a bit an archaeology, right? It's in England, so it's a building inspired in, of course, in high rise, where strange things happen, and it basically became forgotten and separated from the world. So although it's a huge building, it's a city among itself.
It's a city building or building city. So more will come. Yes, these were the first ones, but we want to do more. So
this is 641.
Yes, it's not just setting
book, so
it has some rules, but to play it, you should have this one, or at least the PDF, which is free at the Red Room Store and the
so it's OSR. So Wretched New Flash, like the Wretched, it's a OSR game with some changes. Let's say that is not common in a lot of OSR games.
The way skills work are more like well, they were adapted from other games, and there are perks and drawbacks which are non-OSR things, and that basically that's it.
But we always say that at the same time, well, there's a lot of setting here that could be easily adaptable to
but yes,
other.
You can just you don't have to use this book if you want to, because you can just use that book as a setting, as a rules agnostic or setting, and just ignore the part that is about rules and adapt it to somewhere else, whatever you want.
Another thing that I say that we have in New Flash that's probably not expected to find in this type of scenarios, well, that's psionics, and there's magic.
Yes.
Conjuring magic, not
ritual magic. So the magic is because we are this is part of the Wretched verse, and we
And
have other games.
and there's a part of horror there.
Yeah, so I kept the magic.
Supernatural, so there's magic there in case people want to.
But the most recent version, magic is now very different, and that's one of the aspects that is very different from the usual OSR. It has been turned into something much less powerful and much more discreet. So you have to. It's a ritualistic magic, more or less as it exists in the real world, except it works.
But one of the things that's also interesting because you see,
Already
magic in magic in this type of game. Well, but then you can go into that weird thing that and there's a scenario here with that. Oh no, that scenario is not here. The one that we played. Oh no, the other one that we played, the second one.
It's just the first one.
Yes, this is the first one. But you can get into that weird mix between magic and technology.
Yeah.
Not only we have, of course, there's technomancers, but there's also the
technomancers and the urbanomancers.
Yes, there's always that chance to go into okay, this is technology, but it's actually being fueled by magic. For me, it's an interesting twist. I
So
like it.
I was mentioning, now that we're mentioning magic, I was thinking that maybe probably I'm not going to do that because I'm not really familiar. I mean, even less familiar with unknown armies than I am with Over the Edge, but the way magic works has some connections to unknown armies as well. So because they have urbanomancers and all that weird magic stuff, even though it's not, I don't think it's quite literal magic. It's more an immediate thing, but strange. Well, anyway, I wouldn't compare Wretched Flash to Unknown Armies, but probably Wretched Darkness, which is our horror game, could be played as Unknown Armies. It's if you choose. Yeah, the Urbanomancers are probably the closest to it, and there are some. The Occupy movement, for example, is one of the factions, and that would be very close to what they do with Unknown Armies. But okay, that's
so more things about New Flash that we should mention.
You were talking about psionics, so
exactly psionics.
Psionics is not a big deal, but it will be. So there are drugs in the streets now that can awaken the dormant powers that people have, at least for a bit. And there are people that have natural talents and they can develop them
and be enhanced when they use drugs.
Or yes, and there are already biotechnology being produced, or at least archetypes, prototypes, being developed so people can, even if they don't have the natural talent to use psionics, but if they use an implant, they will awaken those abilities. Other things that, well, the idea here was to create a city that is very fashionable. There's a large elite of foreigners there, not just scientists, also entertainment people, and some politicians and some just wealthy people, corporate guys. So you can also play it in another level. Yeah, medium models. Yeah. Musicians and singers, actors, all that. So it's a glitzy place, and you can also glimpse a bit of Qatar and all those places that are in there. So so what I was, oh yeah, so you can also play it in a different level, a more social, high class style, or you can just play it as secret agents from Zonsec and rub shoulders with the elite. Or as low levels, because there's also a very bad place in town of visit. Actually, most of the town is very bad. The elite places are the small ones. Now the slums. The slums are, as we were mentioning now, very dark places. where the dregs of society will end. And among the dregs of society, we have obviously the drug addicts, because there are many. Obviously, this is a place where there are no rules, so you can take any kind of drugs, and there are many, because all those small black clinics and black labs are producing all kinds of stuff, all kinds of designer drugs, and also something because so over the years, biotech and genetics experiments have been going on here in the Valley, of course. So that has created lots of experiments gone wrong, and some of them have gone so wrong that people were transformed and created. It created mutants, horrible mutations, and then they end up in the slums. So you have drug addicts, mutants,
Low-level criminals,
prostitution,
every type of crime.
Yeah, every type.
Unimaginable.
Yeah, so that's it. This is a very, it's a very varied place. It's a diverse place. You have people from all over the world, very rich people and very famous people, but at the same time also very nasty criminals. There are also various criminal organizations, organized crime working there. The Yakuza, the triads. Not really Italian mafia, it's not the place for that, but the Russian mafia and other kind of organized crime organizations. You can also play, if you want something more Gibson related, executives and corporate workers. It's also possible. There's information about corporations as well. And eventually in other books that we will write, there will be more information, expanded information about Avalida and other places in the world of New Flash. I think we covered most of it.
So if you like Over the Edge, why not give it a try to read New Flash?
And
that's it.
That's it. Bye bye.